Hi everybody, welcome to the live stream. I'm Tisa Blackburn, your Acrylic Diva. And today we're going to do a Fauve-inspired desert scene. So you don't often see the desert being painted by the Fauves, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of overlay their color sense onto a desert scene. So let's get started. Hi everybody, welcome to the live stream. Okay, I'm going to go to the overhead here, and I'm in a little box up here so you can see me. We're going to use the same three colors we always use: benzimidazzolone yellow, phthalo blue, and quin magenta. And we'll have some titanium white, of course. Put our yellow out. And phthalo blue. And quin magenta. Let's have a little more quin magenta. And titanium white. We're going to need a fair amount of titanium white. So we'll put that out. Oh, it looks like I'm almost out of titanium white. Let's pour it right out. There we go. Okay, now it looks like my palette, there we go. That's a little bit better. You can see my palette a little better there. Scoot it over a little bit more. There we go. I usually don't work on an 8x10 canvas, so my camera's set up for a smaller canvas, so I'm a little squished. Okay, let's get started. We're always going to start with our number 12 Princeton Aqua Elite. I almost always use this to start with. And I'm going to have some paper towels right next to me, because as you know, I don't like to use water when I'm painting. Sometimes I will wash my brush, but most of the time I just wipe my brush off on paper towels. So I usually have them right next to me and just wipe it off. So if it's the first time you're joining me for a live stream, let me know where you're coming from. I'd love to hear where you're coming from. If you have questions, let me know that. And I'd be happy to answer those questions. Let's start. We're going to have, like I said, we're going to have a desert scene. So we're going to have a lot of those gorgeous mesas and things like that. But let's start with a road. And I'm going to put my road in first. I usually put the sky in first, but this time I'm going to put in the road first. So I'm going to go right to the yellow. And I'm going to have this road kind of arcing back a little bit and coming forward like this. So I'm just laying in that yellow. Lay that in. Okay. I'm working a little bit backwards today. I ordinarily start with the sky and work forward, but I'm going to start with the road this time. Okay, now I've got yellow on my brush. So I'm going to go right into the quin magenta, which will give me kind of an orange. And I'm just going to come up here and lay down some quin magenta, pull some of that yellow right into it. You don't have to worry about being too fussy. Just lay down some juicy paint. We want some juicy paint there. Okay, I'm going to add a little yellow to this coming forward. That'll give me kind of an orange. And I'm just building up these colors really loose. Just loose. This is just our first pass. Okay, same thing on the other side. Let's get some quin magenta. Some great shapes there. And see, we're overlapping that road just a little bit because we want to kind of make it feel like it disappears into the background. Okay, big juicy paint. Wipe my brush a little bit. Let's get a little of that yellow and bring it in down here. We're already building a pretty good landscape here. And oddly enough, I'm going to do the sky last. That's going to be really weird, but something a little different. Okay. All right, so we sort of got this mesa cavern, canyon established here. So let me wipe my brush a little bit. Now I'm going to go to my number 8, which is where, here it is. I'm going to go to my number 8. I want a clean brush for this. I'm not putting my number 12 in the water though. That's important. So I'm going to go to my number 8 and I'm going to take quite a bit of this titanium white and I'm going to lay it down in the sky. Really get that layered with white. I picked up a little bit of that quin magenta. That's okay, that's not going to hurt anything. I just want a nice big juicy layer of titanium white back here. And more paint the better, right? I'm using the fluid paints. You could do this with heavy body. It's a little bit tougher to do it with heavy body paint. It's a little bit harder to move it around, but you can definitely do it. Okay, so we've got some of that juicy titanium white there. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of my phthalo and just pull it right in. Let's go a little darker. There we go. And see how that phthalo just blends right into that titanium white that we have there? I'm going to come around my hills here a little bit and then come back and blend my brush strokes. Let's do that again over here, just to make the edge of those mesas kind of stand out. See that? Okay. Wipe my brush, and I'm going to come back and bring a little titanium white in and just lay it real soft on top. Give it kind of the hint of some clouds. Just lay it down real soft. Don't even barely touch the canvas, and that'll give you a little bit of a hint of clouds there. Okay, that's all we're going to do with our number 8 right now, so we can put it in the water. Let's go back to our number 12. And now I'm going to pick up a little titanium white. I'm going to come back into these mesas that I started with quin magenta, and some of it is starting to get dry, so I can just build right onto that. Just build it right on there. Now I want to do something a little more with my road. So before I get too carried away with my mesas, I want to come back here on my road and I want to knock it back just a little bit. It's a little too vibrant. So I'm going to grab a little quin magenta, a little of my yellow. I'm going to get a little bit of this on my brush and I'm going to come back in here and drag it. Now this is starting to get dry, but I'm just dragging this with a bit of a sticky brush. My brush is a little bit sticky, but what I want is a little bit of texture on that road. So it's okay if it's a little sticky, just drag the brush. You'll get these kind of erratic brush marks like this here. Yeah, just do that to give yourself some texture, because that yellow was a little bit too vibrant. Okay, a little bit of titanium white. I'll put a little bit of that in. Okay, that's good enough. That gives our road a little bit of texture and it looks a little more alive. Okay, let's go back to our mesas. Yellow, picking up some yellow here. And I'm working really loose and really juicy. Let's get a little titanium white there. And just let the brush do the work. You know, you've got a lot of paint on your brush, and you shouldn't need to worry too much about, you know, variation in the paint, because if you've got enough paint on your brush, it should do the work for you. So let's put a little of the yellow right here. Now, this isn't strictly a Fauve thing. The Fauve painters painted with really bold color, but I would like a little bit of differentiation in these colors. I want to mute them down just a tiny bit. So I'm going to wipe my brush. I'm going to grab a tiny, tiny bit of phthalo blue and bring it over here to this kind of this orange I made earlier. Put a little yellow into it. And just a tiny, tiny bit of Quin Magenta. Mix that up. A kind of a dull green. It's kind of a dull green. So I'm going to take that into this wet paint that I've already got here. It should go in right about here. And that Quin Magenta that I have there sort of mutes down that muddy green. You can kind of see that. I hope you can see it on the screen. That it kind of changes the tone of that Quin Magenta. Let's put a little tiny bit of titanium white into it. It just mutes it ever so slightly. Okay, that's good enough. We've got a pretty good set of mesas going here. In the foreground here, let's lighten this up considerably. I'm putting titanium white into that. Some yellow, some of my yellow there. There we go. We're getting some pretty good mesas there. All right, this guy over here, this big Quin Magenta guy, let's go back and put some more Quin Magenta down. Can never have too much Quin Magenta. And we're going to pick up a little bit of that yellow. Big, big, loose brush strokes. Don't get caught up in the detail. It's not what we're about. I'm going to get a little bit of my titanium white. Kind of differentiate these mesas here a little bit. Okay, that gives us a couple of mesas in that Quin Magenta area there. All right, wipe my brush. And we'll come forward and work on our foreground here. We'll work on this guy. Little titanium white. And let's mute him down as well. We muted down this one here. Let's grab a little bit of our green, that muddy green that we made. Pull that in just to kind of mute that color down just a little bit. And just for flavor, we're going to come here with some Quin Magenta. Have another mesa right here in the foreground. Yeah, good. Wipe my brush. A little bit of yellow here, a little bit of titanium white. And we're painting in a style that's referred to by oil painters as alla prima, which means wet into wet. And I love to paint that way, especially with the fluids, the golden fluids, because they really are wonderful for that blending when you're working one layer on top of another wet layer. It's really nice. Okay, we got a pretty good set of mesas going here. I'm pretty happy at those. I'm just checking them in my monitor over there. All right, well, the desert wouldn't be the desert without some plant life. So let me grab my number 6 brush, and I'm going to put in some, I guess we're going to call them yucca tree, yucca plants, something like that. We'll put a few of those in because we're pretty much finished with our landscape. Honestly, what did that take, 10 minutes? Maybe? And if you have questions for me, put them in chat. I'm happy to answer those questions for you. So I'm going to take my yellow here. Got this muddy green going over here. I'm going to grab a little of my phthalo. And I don't want a really vibrant green. I want a darkish, muted green. So I've got this vibrant green here. I'll grab a little Quin Magenta, put that in there. Let's have a little more. Put that in there, kind of a brown green. And I want to have a little bit more phthalo because I want it the darker value because I want it to really sit in front of these mesas. So I like that dark green, but it's not muted enough. So let's put some more Quin Magenta into it. And that's more what I had in mind right there. Okay. Clean my brush because I don't want a big glob of it on my brush. And let's build some kind of growing things. Let's have a couple of them right here on this guy. I'm going to start at the bottom and pull up like so. Now, the paint that I'm painting on is wet. So when I put down that paint stroke in the green, it's probably going to pick up a little bit of the underneath color, which is fine. Doesn't bother me. And I can always come back and bring more into it or take some away if I want to. It just depends. So that one's looking pretty good. Let's have another one over here maybe. And I'm barely touching the canvas with my paintbrush, barely touching it. Because you don't want to bring that underneath paint in too much and really make a mess. So we'll just get a couple of these going. And let's have some smaller ones back here. And I'm going to use just the tip of my brush back here. Let's make them lighter too so they stand out a little bit better. Make these a little bit lighter. Just the tip of my brush, barely touching. That's why these brushes are so great. You see the point that is making? It's making a really nice point. Hello from North Carolina. How am I keeping my paint wet? Well, I'm just using the golden fluids. I don't have any glazing liquid or anything in the paint. And I'm working on an 8x10 canvas. And I'm laying that paint down pretty thick. So that's one of the ways I keep the paint wet when I'm working. You can also put glazing liquid in it. Where's my glazing liquid? You can also put glazing liquid in it. This good stuff right here. Whoops, go this way. This will help your paint stay wet and workable too. That is the main thing if you want to keep it wet. But I really pile the paint on the canvas. So I've got paint that's still wet because I really pile it on there. Let's have a few more. Thank you for your question. Make sure you hit that subscribe button too. And the notification bell, because I do a live every week and I post 2 videos every week. So you'll get that information. And you can always ask me questions in any of the videos. Just hit me with a question, a comment, and I will get back to you on that. Okay, so I'm going to go a couple more of these guys. Not too big. Let's have a couple more of those over here too. I'm kind of digging this green. The green's working for me. So there we go. Just really, and I'm barely touching the canvas. I am just barely touching the canvas with the tip of my brush. And these brushes, these are the Princeton Aqua Elite. They're in your description. These are great brushes for working with the fluid paint. Oh, Thirsty's Child, thank you for your subscription. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, keep me posted. If you need any information, you just drop me a comment in any one of the videos. YouTube notifies me, and then I can answer your questions. That's what I'm here for. So these brushes that I was talking about, I'm crazy about these brushes. And they are actually, I believe, they're watercolor brushes. But for the fluid paints that I use, these fluid paints, these guys, they work beautifully for the fluid paints. Now, they don't work, these brushes do not work for the heavy body paint, the thick paint, but they work great for the fluids. Really good for the fluids. Okay, so, I mean, that's a 20-minute painting, you guys. It doesn't take that long. I'm going to go back. I've got my number 6, and I'm going to get a little bit darker green here. Just putting a little bit more phthalo blue into that. And just going to kind of give these guys a little bit more phthalo blue. It's not dark enough. Just give these guys a little bit of variety so they're not, just don't have that one note thing. So a couple more of these little darker greens here. And we might even come back with a little Quin magenta. You never know. Now the other thing is that you guys know I only use 3 colors to paint with. That's it. Keep it simple, okay? You don't need 10 tubes of paint. You only need 3. That's all you need. So keep it simple. It makes it much easier on you. It's cheaper too. You only need 3 tubes of paint. Just keep it simple. Okay, those little that little bit of blue looks pretty good. And we'll probably, let's grab a tiny bit of that. And we'll do just a couple back here. Don't get too carried away with that though. Less is more. You don't want to go crazy and do too much, because you can always add to it, but you can't take it out once you've done it. So, you know, when you're painting along, take a look at it, stop, take a break, take a look at it and go, okay, do I really need anything else? Maybe I don't. Maybe it's just fine the way it is. Okay. A couple more of these dark blues. And then we'll grab a little Quin magenta. I always like to check it on my monitor so I can see what you all are seeing. So periodically you see me look over here. That's me checking my monitor to see what you see. Okay, here's a little bit of Quin magenta. Let's see if that Quin magenta, yeah, you know, I didn't think that was going to work. I'm going to make it a bright pink. Let's go pink. Let's go even lighter pink than that. Fair amount of titanium white in that Quin magenta. And I've got a little bit of blue on my brush, so there's probably a hint of purple there. But I want something to kind of pop these guys. And let's get that on my brush nice and clean. Oh yeah, there we go. That's what we wanted. A little something just to pop it, you know? Do these grow like this in nature? Probably not. Probably not. Now, you're very likely to see hills like this in New Mexico and Arizona and stuff like that, but I don't know about pink yucca plants. But here's the thing. I'm the artist. I can do anything I want. I can make it any color I want. And you should live by that motto. You're the artist. You can make it any color you want. Okay. Well, I think I'm done playing with that. That looks like, I'm just checking my monitor here. That is our 20-minute painting. Although I do have a funny thing right back here in the center. Let's fix that. It's like a weird little... the perspective is all kind of crazy back there. So let me just fix that. We really need to overlap these guys right here. So I didn't quite pull that off. I was being a little sloppy back here. So I'll just bring this down like so. There we go. Easy enough. Just an easy fix. That way our road goes back and around and disappears. And it has that perspective because it's wider here and then it gets narrow as it goes back. So there we go. That is our 20-minute, 25-minute Southwest painting with a kind of fauvish flair to it. I will see you all next week. Not sure, we might have to change our live times. It may not be Friday next week, but always keep that notification bell turned on and make sure you're subscribed, and then you'll get that information when I'm going live. And I always post them on the channel as well, okay? I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. And remember what I always say, keep painting. I'll see you later. Bye.